Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so my mind is going toward the Los Angeles Lakers' future. Since we're so far into the Western Conference Finals, well, the beginning of the Western Conference Finals, but we're so far into the playoffs, you gotta love where we're at, and you gotta know that people are gonna be expensive to keep. And based on the fluidity of what other possibilities the Lakers could make, will determine who you actually want to keep. You know what I mean? Um, the needs of your team are going to be taken into account when you consider who it is you want to keep versus who else you may not want to overpay or what have you. Um, Obviously, we have players that we love here. All of our guys we want to keep if possible, so we're hopeful that we're able to do that. But we also understand that it's only but so much of the cap that we can ultimately use. And so, uh, what I'm saying is, there are certain situations like, for example, if you want to re-sign Lonnie Walker, that would be fantastic to have him back. But if for some reason you were to make a trade for a player like Lonnie Walker, then suddenly Lonnie's piece doesn't make as much sense. So these are the type of things that we're thinking about as we consider. We just throw it out there to say we want to keep everybody, but we also know we got some young rookies coming in, or second year players, rookies now. Scottie Pippen, Christie, some of those guys, Cole Swider, they're going to be coming in and shaking up the roster a little bit and giving us different dynamic and different needs and things like that. And different role players will have different roles because of the incorporation of those young players. If for some reason something doesn't happen to which we trade those guys or something like that, which I don't anticipate. But I think in a perfect world for me, honestly, we keep the entire team, man. We don't do nothing at all. Um, there are concerns that I have about D'Lo long term in terms of his health and just the overall style that he tends to play with. I like it. I love the athlete that he is, but I'm worried about giving him too much of my cap. That's my concern. But like at the end of the day, if we can keep him for a price that we like to keep him, of course, I'd like to have him be a part of what we're doing going forward because I think we need his shooting ability, and I think it's going to prove to be deadly in these playoffs. And so, a lot of guys' prices are going to be defined as this series progresses, and this Denver Nuggets series, how well they play may determine even further what people think of them overall in the market. So I know we're in the playoffs, and these are things that only Rob Pelinka is probably thinking about right now. But um, as we assess how players are playing, we definitely have this stuff on the back of our minds because we want to stay deep. We believe that depth here on this channel is ultimately what keeps you competitive in this league, and one of the reasons why I'm so confident in this team is that we have so many contributors on it that you can count on from night to night doing something for you, whether they've been had their number called all month or not. You know what I mean? Lonnie Walker style. So because we have that here and because we have such fantastic scouts, for me, what we're doing in the draft this upcoming June is going to be a determining factor, as well as how our team is going to look and who we want to keep on this team. If the fluidity of the situation may have it so that you end up trading the pick, even though I don't think that's what we'll do. I don't want to do that necessarily, but again, so much can be possible. So many guys may be on the move that I don't know if the Lakers should be involved in any trades, and I think that's what kind of motivated me to turn on the camera. The Los Angeles Lakers are in a position to define themselves. So if for some reason we get swept out of here, we're going to have a very distinctive taste in our mouth about how this roster is and ultimately what it's about. But even more so, we understand that the fullness is this team is good enough to compete, and we know it. So if we bring it back next year, we expect for it to do well. Just the same if we can keep ourselves healthy. Now the question is, can we keep ourselves healthy? And I don't know. I don't really know. If LeBron James in year 21 is going to be as determined to keep going in this way, um, I don't know. I have no idea. So that's the only concern that I have in terms of us. But ultimately, the core fits so well when it's healthy. We're so dang dominant. Even if LeBron James is starting to decline, if Anthony Davis can continue to play at the level he's playing at, we can keep him healthy and keep enough bigs around him um, to give him a spell when necessary. I think we're going to be a very, very capable team. And if we keep our pieces together, unlike 2000 2021 when we had our 2020 championship and then dismantled it afterward. I think we can be happy with the chances of us, coming back multiple years in a row and having a chance at a championship. That's what we ultimately want, is a good run here with Anthony Davis being on contract. Hopefully he can continue to keep healthy, and then obviously we want to extend him. Obviously we want to keep him and stop all this trade AD nonsense. And so that a lot of that is just determined on the luck of good health. Hopefully everything works out there, and then from there his conditioning continue to keep those habits. But ultimately, I think he's proving that you want that player on your team. You know what I mean? Defensively, what he can do is unmatched, and he's still got a lot left for us going forward. We just gotta be patient, you know what I mean, and work with him. And now, as he starts to define himself as the best defensive player, respect him as such, you know what I mean? And so that's kind of how it is. It's kind of what I think we live and die with Anthony Davis. So maybe if we can add a piece in the draft, or someone maybe we can get somehow that can kind of be another 7-footer with length to kind of simulate some of what it is that he does, so that he can have a bit more rest, or as I said, a spell again. We would be so much more comfortable with him on our team in regards to what he'll be able to do for us. But that's what it's all about. It's just giving him plenty of bigs, plenty of backups, and being comfortable with playing those guys. Having them fit with the system you have, you know what I mean? Making sure that they're pieces that can do what it is that are necessary to keep them on the floor. So that's what I would target, if at all possible, in this offseason. And that's really what it is, man. I am thrilled about where the Lakers are, but I'm always thinking about the fullness of our situation no matter what, because that's just how I'm wired. And we're in a great spot. The turnaround has been phenomenal. I have a lot more faith in our front office and Rob Pelinka than I had, obviously, when I was ranting all these last several months, just because the results tell you to allow that to be the case. We still would like them to continue to improve as they've been doing. We appreciate that we've been hurt. We feel we've been hurt, and that's what it's about. The Laker Nation is a passionate bunch, and we want to see our team succeed no matter what. And there's success in a lot of different ways. If we have to rebuild, then success means effectively doing so. You know what I mean? If we have to go forward, then that means staying the course and keeping your timeline, true. These are the things that it's not just about going for championships and getting superstars. If the system itself, the environment itself is wired so that getting superstars is a poison pill, then no, your fan base doesn't want to have a poison pill. You know what I mean? In the form of 3 superstars. No, we want to have a balanced team that can compete, and whatever can get us a championship, that's what we want. You know what I mean? And so that's the bigger picture now. If the NBA will maneuver itself again so that we can responsibly have 3 and 4 superstars, then of course, let's build what is responsible to compete or dominate. But as long as they got it wired so that you go over the cap, and then from there it's all kinds of bad from there, then of course you don't do nothing like that ever again. And so that's what we say. I don't think it was a mistake targeting Anthony Davis and bringing him to your team. Mortgaging your future was risky, but now that we're approaching a Western Conference Finals with already 1 ring in our belt, it's starting to seem like it was a pretty good investment. When you consider the fullness of what it is we're dealing with, you want to get multiple shots at a ring. And so that's what you mortgage your future for. And I'm hopeful that we can finish the deal out here in these playoffs, so we can really feel good about the fullness of what that trade meant, especially since the trade swap dissolved in the way that it did. So we're pleased with how New Orleans season went in regards to that. And, that makes that trade look even better as we look back on it. So you couple that with Lonzo Ball's situation with his knee, you just got to feel good about where Anthony Davis is at and what he's showing you several years after the trade is made. Just dominating the league defensively and showing us that it was a great trade. So that's where we're at right now. That is exactly where we are heading into the Western Conference Finals. It is important that we state how the trade is going, because that's really what it is. It's not just about when the trade is made. You want to look at the fullness of the contract and what the team was able to do with that player. You know, and the same goes for some of the worst trades there are, like the Rudy Gobert trade. We'll know if the Timberwolves are really terrible 2 years from now if the Rudy Gobert trade was bad. But if they're winning the championship some magical how, then obviously we'll assess it then and say maybe the trade was the right thing for them. Even though I can't see that. But you look at the Utah Jazz, I'm pretty certain you definitely gonna say that trade was the right thing for them. But that's a whole nother conversation for an entirely different day. Either way, I just want to let everybody know that what's on my mind is I don't necessarily think we should just jump into any old trade, especially a big trade for like a Dame Lillard or something like that. I just felt like that was a mistake we made in 2020 when the championship was won. We just let everybody go. And I just don't think that is really necessary when these guys are young. You know what I mean? Even though they're going to look to get paid. And maybe we'll lose one or two of them just out of because they're going to get the check. But at the end of the day, winning can go a long way in making people want to invest in the team itself, even the players. So hopefully they'll see the fruit in doing that, especially since you're playing for the Lakers. You can make a lot of money playing for the Lakers versus going to a team like Milwaukee or Phoenix or something like that, taking their bag and maybe not being seen on TV ever again, that kind of thing. So, I'm a believer in all the players that we got ultimately, even the ones that have struggled, because I know they can be utilized properly, which is why I don't think being married to anything as it pertains to acquisitions or re-signing players should be something that we're thinking about overly, because at the end of the day, there's so much that could change, as I said already, with just one or two players being inserted. Suddenly you'll have a redundancy where you didn't necessarily have one. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So just got to be careful. But at the end of the day, the one thing I do want us to do is just continue to keep forwards here for LeBron James. Just like I said about Anthony Davis, you keep a Rui Hachimura here because he can help you give LeBron James insurance. If you have one of those injuries where LeBron James is out for a month, a guy like Rui Hachimura replaces him with the same size, different attributes, the same size, and maybe even some of the same scoring metrics, depending on if Rui's really hot. So it's like, heck, better efficiency if Bron's continuing to be poor from behind the arc. You know what I mean? So there are things that you can do so long as you keep these type of pieces on your team. Vanderbilt must be kept. I understand that we're lowering his minutes in this playoffs. There are going to be situations in the future where we're going to have to assess whether or not it makes sense to keep him on our team if we don't make him a better shooter out here, or if he doesn't find ways to kind of score more so just in general in some of these rotations. But I think that's limited to how this system has him in. You put a different player on the team, suddenly you got different things. Now Vanderbilt has a different role, and it's not necessarily that he's doing these things. So it's like we got to figure out how best to keep him on our team no matter what, because there are going to be times in the future, 2-3 years down the road, where you're going to be so happy Vanderbilt's on your team in the playoffs because he's going to get that steal in the last second of the game, or he's going to get that breakaway fast break point that's going to win the game for you or what have you. So it's one of those situations where you just understand that and you don't overreact to the inability to use him properly in this previous series. You know what I mean? Or some of his shooting struggles or whatever it is that we're asking him to do. That's not really even a thing when you consider 4, 5, 6 years of what it is Vanderbilt actually can bring to the table. So I look at him as a very special player in regards to being able to help define our defense and our identity as a defensive team. And as long as you keep him next to Anthony Davis, you're not going to be anything less than the 5th best defensive team in the NBA, in my opinion. Nothing less. As long as those two players on the same team and you utilize them properly, they're going to get stops all night. And as Vanderbilt continues to develop, because he's still young, he hasn't fully developed, which is really awesome considering where he's headed. You just know you got to keep him. You don't let him or Rui Hachimura walk out of the door at all. You keep those two players together. I would suggest we keep Wenyen Gabriel as well. Some of the back of the bench guys are very key to what we can do. Although some may say we can replace them or upgrade, that may be the case, but you want to make sure you keep those type of guys, or the guys who can do those type of things, no matter what. And don't underestimate what Wenyen brings to the table. Offensive rebounding, defensive rebounding, putbacks, efficiency in that way. Efficiency from the corner, he's a bit better at that than Vanderbilt is in terms of some of these corner threes we're asking Vando to hit. These kind of things are just on our minds as we consider what we've just seen. Now, again, a lot of things can change. Guys put in the work and get better, and that's what we hope our young players will do. And we just want to value them and keep the size here because we believe in the size. So that's really what it is. I think that's what makes us different. I think that's what gives us a chance to match up with teams like Philly, who also have a lot of forwards. And, you get your PJ Tuckers, you get your Tobias Harrises. If we have a healthy dose of what it is that we have right now, going up against them, I like us a lot because they pretty much match up and we match up with them no matter what. So that's what it is. When you get into what happens next year, you want to make sure you have enough of those 6'10" guys, 250 guys. You want to make sure you have enough of those on your team who can do a whole lot of things, because as the game continues to get into where it's going, you're going to see more and more of those dudes get drafted and be into more prominent roles, switchable rotations and things of that nature. So you definitely want to keep these dudes, your 6'8", 6'10", 235 muscle dude all the way up to like 270 muscle dudes. You want to have as many of them dudes with length as possible. And so we have a head start on that with the type of players we got. And I think we should draft another. We should draft another or a shooter, depending on if Hawkins is there. I really, really am high on Hawkins, but I think he'll be gone. But there are other pieces around Hawkins and in that range that we should want just as much or even more. So, again, that draft piece, I think it's important that we can add something to this core that is going to complement guys like Max Christie and Goldschweider as they come into their own. And as Austin Reeves starts to take on a bigger role, which I expect he's going to get a bag from us, pretty big one too. And that's going to be awesome for us because it really comes down to the heart that he has and the experience that he's getting playing with LeBron James, the intellect that he has. When you couple those three things with his length, with everything he can bring to the table, not paying him is going to be a colossal mistake for this team. Now, overpaying him could be a problem too, but so long as you have Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Austin Reeves, you can put together some variation of something really, really good if you respect player development. Now, but you don't want to get to a point where you're not respecting that. If you do that, you're going to wear Austin down. If you look at what's going on with Devin Booker in Phoenix, what's happening is because they don't use enough of the backups up there, he has to do so much throughout the course of the season till at the end of the year, he has no legs. He has to miss just about every shot he takes halfway through the first and second round because of it. And he gets the moniker as somebody who disappears. It's the same thing that James Harden has gone through his whole career. They don't play enough of his backups. They play him 40 minutes throughout the course of a season. By the time the playoffs come around, players exhausted. You got to learn from those mistakes, and we can't mistake what it is we're seeing there. These guys are getting tired. They're exhausted because their backups aren't properly utilized. That's why James Harden trying to get to Houston, because he knows they got 1 million shooting guards and 1 million ball handlers that is not going to be on him to do anything other than come in and make them better. That's it. You can come in there and shoot a couple jump shots, pass the rock 100 times, and sit down, and them boys are going to be running and jumping and flying all around him. So it's really one of those situations where it's like, you got to understand what these shooting guards need. You got to understand what these players need. They need to be able to have consistency in their playing time and their rhythm, while the balance of having other backups come in and play well and contribute and be good and actually be competitive in regards to taking minutes from them so they can keep competitive and stay checked amongst the team. Guys know they're going to get 40 minutes. They start slacking in certain situations, especially if they're young. So you want to keep a competitive basketball squad that knows how to compete with each other, but also want for one another. So keeping them good personalities in the locker room is everything. And I know our team is very good about finding those guys too. So it's one of them situations where it's like, we just got to stay on that path. We're good at that. All these things are in place. I tell other teams they need to find these things. We just need to use what we have and keep going. So that's a big kudos to the front office for having that together and trusting those scouts. So that's what we need to do. Just use the team, be deep, stay deep, no matter what it is. If we have to lose guys, replenish, bring in more young players. And now that we've shown that we can do that, we should be respected a little more in the market, which is really another win for us. If we get the NBA championship, that'll be great. But one of the main things that we just got was respect in the market. Now teams ain't gonna be trying us like they used to. Last summer, we ain't gonna go through what we went through last summer. Oh, we can't get this trade. Oh, you're gonna have to overpay for this guy. Nah, ain't nobody overpaying for nothing. You see them trades we just made, you see the success our team just had, you're going to give us a price that's favorable. You're going to try to do that to Minnesota. You're going to try to do that to some of those other teams that have recently made mistakes that you would deem mistakes. Not us. We ain't made no mistakes. Hopefully we'll be the NBA champs. So this is where I like us as it pertains to our assets. We have more assets to use. Rob Pelinka is more respected in the market. You know, good things are in place. We don't necessarily have to make any trades, which is what I'm here to say. So all of that's great. If anything, I just want to see the Los Angeles Lakers, the unit that's on the floor right now, remain focused. You know, I've had ups and downs in regards to who we were, but of course we made the trades and got better. So my lack of belief in the team at the beginning of the season is different. Now I'm obviously very much on board and think that this unit can win an NBA championship, and I'm happy that we made those pieces happen for ourselves and was able to have some luck in the market, favor in the market, and Rob Pelinka was able to put this thing together. With that being said, you know, of course we got more work to do. Of course we have our mind on the moment. Got to stay present, as Bron says. Got to stay humble, as Coach Ham says. And, you know, we heed all of that on this channel here as we continue to be cocky about who we're about to see and look into the future about who's going to stay and who's going to leave from this really, really good unit. But I think what I'm asking our team to do is, while looking at the fluidity of what it is that's possible, while being the Lakers, maybe bringing another star here or doing other things that can kind of shake things up like we did in 2001, getting discounts on players that don't necessarily fit, but just bringing them to you anyway because they're a discount. We got to be careful not to do stuff like that and make some of the same mistakes we made in 2001. Know that we do not have to do that because our team is old enough, young enough, and doesn't necessarily have to be replenished that way. So let's try to get some good deals with these youngsters that we have here, and hopefully keep the right ones, and just you know, hopefully keep everybody. That's what I want to do, keep everybody, and bring this thing back as deep and as capable as it is right now, and make the field prove that it can build something to defeat it. You know what I mean? Seriously, because there are going to be some young players that are coming in like Wembanyama. So as he comes in, you definitely do not want to have players that are tall and long exiting your franchise. None of us, no teams. You want to bring guys to you to match up with that. And amongst the other MVPs that are all 7 feet, basically. So that's why Anthony Davis must be kept. That's why we want to keep him healthy, keep him fresh, and empower him to be his best self, defensively and offensively. So success will propel us there. So hopefully our team is getting rest while preparing for altitude just the same. Balance indeed. And from there, we'll continue to cover the team as they continue to journey toward Larry O, old Baldy. We're going after it. You know, BDO 44. I thank you all for watching.